Hi class, today I'm going to be doing Facebook's Cambridge Analytica scandal that happened in 2018. So a little bit of background on Facebook. In 2004, it was founded by Mark Zuckerberg, Dustin Moskovich, Chris Hughes, and Eduardo Saverin. It was always free of charge. Initially, it was targeted towards college students in Harvard. So these students would post their schedules, post what clubs and activities they were part of to connect to more students, basically to make new friends, to talk about professors, and all of that. Then it spread to, I think, like 34 colleges. It spread very quickly, and before you know it, hundreds of thousands of students were using this website. Then by 2005, Facebook changed its rules, and they allowed anyone over the age of 13 to join. So by doing that, they also added different features. They had the timeline. They had different features such as the tagging in photos. So if someone tagged myself in a photo or someone else, my friends could see it, their friends could see it. That expanded my circle. That could also expand other people's social networks. They could network with other people as well, other companies. And then the unlimited amount of photo uploads also skyrocketed as well, because people were showing off to everyone of what they were doing, and that created a different culture as well. And by 2005, there was 6 million active monthly users on it, so it grew extremely quickly. So what happened? On March 17th, 2018, the New York Times and The Guardian exposed Facebook and Cambridge Analytica for attaining users' information to target specific political advertisements for the Trump campaign. So in 2016, the Trump campaign hired Cambridge Analytica to attain all of this information, and then they would use all of this information to target these users and create pro-Republican ads. And although they didn't take passwords and things that could be logged in, information that people could use to log into the profiles, they took what these people were liking, their comments, their entire profile. So as you know, that tells people what city you're from, where your hometown is, where you went to high school, college, and all of that. So they were using all of this information to target government political ads towards these people. And initially it was about 50 million that were reported, and that number grew to 87 million people. So the number is extremely high, and this is kind of like a graph. So Cambridge Analytica, this was the political consulting firm. They created the a third-party app, and that third-party app, to whoever used their app and took their quiz, it took their information. Then they took that person's information and their friends lists. So it could have, so say only 37,000 people took the quiz. However, all of those people's friends lists were also compromised. So their information was also taken. So it was a very, very large scale. And so Rebecca and Robert Mercer, they were the large donors to the Cambridge Analytica, and they were also very very wealthy Republican donors as well. So you can see the connection there. Yes. So the SWOT, the strengths, well, obviously Facebook is the leading social media platform. Companies want their ads on Facebook. People see their ads, people buy their things. And it's also linked to many other accounts. As you know, like you can use Facebook to log into Spotify and to other apps as well. The weaknesses, obviously, trust issues with privacy data. This is not the first time that their data has been compromised. Opportunities, well, they could create a stricter privacy terms, and they could create new offerings. However, the threats are, well, the competition with other apps such as Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. A lot of people you see that are millennials and younger generations are staying off of Facebook. They're going into Instagram and Twitter since it is more user friendly, and there is basically a greater niche of these college age and millennial aged people. And also, the history of data breaches is a huge threat. So when and where? It happened on March 17th, 2018. Christopher Wiley exposed the scandal. So he was actually a co-founder of the Cambridge Analytica. So why was PR needed? Obviously, the exposure plummeted Facebook's number of users, the investors' stocks and reputation. They needed to save all of these things. Everything and anything was at stake. This is true. This was huge. This eventually went into a congressional hearing, as maybe some of you saw on TV. I know I watched it. So in 2 days, the company market value plummeted about $50 billion. And people began to boycott the Facebook by using #DeleteFacebook. There was also companies threatening to take their ads off of Facebook as well. Large companies such as Sonos, other CEOs were posting that they were going to take a break from Facebook. So that also was giving a huge negative light on the website. So their objectives were obviously to save the image of Facebook. They wanted to regain the trust of its users and investors. And they wanted to create a new privacy policy. They eventually implemented the 3-step plan, which was part of their PR plan as well. And they did want to create this new policy because they wanted to get people back on Facebook and show the public that they were extremely interested in retaining these users, and they wanted to do whatever they could to keep them and to keep this from happening as well. So their PR events and strategies. So on March 21st, Zuckerberg made an announcement, and he posted on Facebook saying that he was sorry and that he was making sure that this didn't happen again. I don't think that this was enough and that it was timely. He should have done this within 24 hours of the crisis being exposed. Him waiting about 4 days is not okay, and there was so many questions in those 4 days, and no one having any answers to anything obviously made the situation a lot worse. And it did not put a good image on him as well. It made it seem like he was hiding. But in that situation, even though he may want to hide, he could not have, because there was millions of people's user data compromised, and that was just not a good strategy at all. He also did a CNN televised interview, and that went on huge media outlets as well. He also did interviews with the New York Times, Recode, which is online, and Wired. On March 25th, he published an apology. So he bought full page ads, and he published this apology in newspapers. Globally, it was in the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Sunday Times, the Sunday Mirror, and the Observer, which are UK-based media outlets, as well as the Wall Street Journal. And then he continued to post investigation updates until August 22nd, 2018. Until then, there was no real updates. I read something, again, that these updates were just reworded and they weren't accurate. presently as well. So that wasn't a good strategy either. He also did this public apology tour as well, where he publicly apologized to the users and stuff, but it still wasn't enough. There was no personal contact with any of the users. There was the trending hashtag delete Facebook as well. And he implemented the 3-step plan. So their tactics, obviously, they were setting up interviews with different news outlets, different newspapers. They created social media posts. Obviously, Zuckerberg made the huge social media posts. He also there was also updates on his Facebook. However, that was not him. That was his team. So he made it seem like it was him, but it wasn't. He attended the congressional hearing. Initially, he wasn't going to. However, with a lot of pressure from government officials and other companies and media outlets, he agreed to go. Obviously, the full-page ads, which was his apology, and the 3-step plan to a new privacy protection. So after all of this happened, they started pushing their 3-step plan, which was to create stricter privacy data that third-party apps could be viewed on the timeline, on the timeline, and you could also disconnect them as well. So this was his public apology, the 3 screenshots. It's extremely long. It had about 274,000 reactions, 53,000 comments, and 68,000 shares, so it obviously got around. However, he basically there's a timeline of the events. In 2007, he was talking about that in 2007, he was saying how they wanted more apps on Facebook, and then he it basically explained the breach. And he said it was between Kogan, Cambridge Analytica, and Facebook. And there was also a breach of trust between Facebook and the people we share their data with. So he was taking responsibility, which was good. However, it was late. There was also, I took some screenshots. These are some recent screenshots, actually. So you can see that people are still talking about this hashtag delete Facebook. In this post, it says, trading your security, privacy, and freedom for a little bit of quick convenience or a smooth user experience is one of the worst short-sighted trades you could make. And then over here, it says, I guess we should hurt them where it matters for them by uninstalling their apps and stop giving them access to our data. And that was June 13th. So it was very, it's still very popular. So what would I have done differently? Obviously, I would have responded within a 24-hour window of the crisis happening. Like I said, Zuckerberg waiting a couple of days, it allowed for media outlets to twist the words, to come up with their own conclusions, to have people talking. It should have been addressed right away to get to the point to let people know what happened and what they're going to be doing about it. He should not have waited that long. This was millions of people's privacy data that was compromised, and he waited and in silence, which was horrible. Instantly break the ties with Cambridge Analytica. Obviously give more details on the crisis. I don't think he did a good job with that. He did this public apology tour. I don't think it sufficed. He didn't do enough press interviews. He did the congressional hearing, which was publicized on live television. And however, it was so hard to get him on that. And even then, his answers weren't what people wanted. And it should not be that hard to get someone to do the congressional hearing because it was a legal matter and it did involve a U.S. election. Obviously, be more personable on Facebook updates. So he made it seem that he out of his entire busy life, he was going out of his way to post these Facebook updates. However, he was not. He was using his team, which is totally fine. However, he should have said that, or he should have mentioned it. And be more willing to participate in the congressional hearing. Like I said, he should not be forced by government agencies and government officials and pressured by news media outlets. He should have just gone and said what he needed to say and have that publicly televised, because he was not giving the public enough information. So what's missing? Basically a genuine approach to connecting with the audience. There was no genuine and transparency with the users of Facebook, with social media users at all. Obviously, transparency regarding the Congress and public information and updates. He should have kept up with the updates. Like I said, they ended in August 2018. However, the hashtag is still trending. There are people still talking about deleting Facebook. There have been past occurrences with data breaches. He should have implemented more of the updates on the investigation and on past and future preventatives. So lessons learned and takeaways. Obviously, you need to create a crisis plan. Obviously, Facebook did not have a crisis plan, and that shows with the long response times and the scattered tactics. They needed to hold accountability. They also wanted, some takeaways were stricter precautions and better privacy protections from third-party apps. And that was implemented in the three-step plan. And never compromise users' data for an election or any other agenda. It will result in a lack of trust. Obviously, after people found out about this, their trust went down. They started deleting Facebook. Some people started deleting their entire social media. It was just, social media is so important, and trust between the outlet and its users is so important as well, because we do put our credit card information on there. We do link it to other accounts. We have private conversations with other people through Messenger. That data and all of these messages and information should not be compromised, and we should not fear that the government or third-party companies are reading and learning about our private information. And some questions for discussion. Do you think that Facebook will ever recover from its data breach and gain users' trust? What are the different approaches you would have taken in the first 24 hours? And do these privacy data breaches discourage you from using social media? So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of that. All right, thank you so much.